My wife tried to manipulate me into signing over my assets to her. I played along until I gathered evidence of her manipulations and secretly filed for divorce, leaving her broke. I'm 35, male, and up until recently I thought my life was pretty solid. I wasn't rolling in money, but I'd worked hard for what I had. A decent job, a house I bought myself, and, until a few months ago, a wife. Kay and I had been together for 7 years, married for 4. I thought we had something real, you know? But lately, I've been learning the hard way that you can't always trust the people closest to you. It didn't start with some big explosion. It was more subtle. Little things that didn't add up. Kay had always been a spender, but I didn't think much of it. She liked nice things, and I could afford to give her some of that. I handled all the finances, mortgage, bills, savings, investments, because she was never interested. At least, she said she wasn't. Then, out of nowhere, she starts dropping comments like, if something happened to you, I wouldn't even know how to access the accounts. I'd be lost. Or, we should really have everything in both our names. What's yours is mine, right? I brushed it off at first. She had a point. If I died, she'd need access to everything. But something about the way she said it, it felt off. It wasn't a conversation, it was a hint. A push. One day, I caught her on the phone with her sister, talking about me. They weren't quiet enough, and I heard Kay say, "He's just stubborn, but once I get him to sign, it'll be fine." I froze. Get me to sign what? I didn't confront her. I wanted to see how far she was willing to go. So I started playing along. I told her I'd been thinking about it, and maybe she was right. We should talk to a financial advisor, make sure everything was protected. She jumped on it, quick to suggest someone she knew, someone who deals with couples all the time. That set off another red flag. I agreed to meet the guy just to see what she was up to. We meet with this advisor, and the whole time he's talking, it's clear he's on her side. He's pushing hard for joint accounts, saying it'll simplify things if we just combine everything. But then he starts suggesting I move assets into her name, says it'll make things easier down the line, legally speaking. Kay sat there, all sweet and agreeable, like this was all just good planning for our future. But I could see what was happening. She wasn't asking for protection. She wanted control. And she wanted it all. That's when I knew I had to play the long game. If I called her out right then, she'd just deny everything and find another way to get what she wanted. So I played dumb. I told her I needed time to think it over, and I stalled, dragging out the process. Meanwhile, I started covering my ass. I moved some of my money into an account she didn't know about, and I started recording our conversations. She had no idea I was collecting evidence. Things escalated after that. She started putting more pressure on me, bringing it up constantly. "Why don't you trust me?" she'd ask. "Do you think I'm trying to screw you over or something?" She'd laugh it off, but there was always this edge to it. She knew I wasn't giving in, and it pissed her off. The emotional manipulation started then. She'd throw herself into these dramatic fits, accusing me of treating her like an outsider, like I didn't value her as a partner. One night, she came home and dropped a bombshell. "I talked to my sister, and she thinks we should take out a bigger life insurance policy on you, just in case." I almost laughed. She wanted me to sign over a massive policy, with her as the sole beneficiary. I played along, told her I'd think about it, but I knew then exactly what her game was. She wasn't just trying to get a little more control over our finances. She was making sure she'd be set for life if something happened to me. That was it. I stayed at a hotel that night, telling her I needed some space. She pretended to be concerned, asking if everything was okay, but I could see the calculation behind her eyes. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger that I'd cave. I didn't. I filed for divorce behind her back the next day. Quietly moved the rest of my assets into a separate account. Locked everything down. I didn't trust her for a second, and I knew once she got those papers, the real Kay would show up. And man, did she show up. When she got served, she lost it. Screaming, throwing accusations. "You're leaving me with nothing. You're trying to ruin my life." She flipped the switch so fast it almost gave me whiplash. I handed her the stack of evidence, the emails with her sister, the recordings of her pressuring me to sign over the house, the life insurance policy she tried to sneak in. She didn't even try to deny it. She just stood there. looking at me like I was the one betraying her. She wasn't done, though, not by a long shot. The next day, she tried to get into one of my private bank accounts, walked into the bank, claimed I had given her permission to access the funds, saying that, as my wife, she had a right to it. But I'd already set up protections, so the bank called me immediately. When I confronted her, she had the nerve to act like I was overreacting. "I'm your wife," she said. "You don't trust me? You're treating me like a criminal." Her entitlement was unreal. After that, she showed up at my office unannounced one evening, tears streaming down her face, putting on this big emotional display. "I love you," she cried. "I don't want to lose us. Please don't do this. I'm nothing without you." It wasn't about love, though, and we both knew it. She just didn't want to lose her meal ticket. I stayed calm, told her to leave, but when she refused, I had security escort her out. The look on her face, rage, shock, like she couldn't believe I wasn't falling for her bullshit anymore. But she didn't stop. A few days later, she showed up at the house, making a scene on the front porch. She sat there sobbing, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, screaming, "He's making me homeless. I have nowhere to go," which was complete bullshit. I'd already arranged for her to stay at her sister's while we sorted things out, but that didn't fit her narrative. She wanted to make me look like the villain. She wanted everyone to think I was abandoning her. When the sob stories didn't work, she got dirty. She sent me a long text message saying if I didn't stop the divorce, she'd reveal everything to my family and friends. Said she had dirt on me, lies she was ready to spread if I didn't give her what she wanted. It was straight up blackmail, but by then, I'd already told my family everything. Her threats were empty. That's when I had enough. I filed for a restraining order. Between the bank stunt, the office ambush, and her making a scene at the house, I had more than enough to get the order approved. She wasn't allowed anywhere near me or the property. It shut her down, and she finally backed off, for the most part. The divorce dragged on, and of course, she fought for every penny. Tried to milk it for all it was worth, but I had her nailed. I wasn't some clueless husband she could manipulate anymore. In the end, she walked away with the bare minimum while I kept the house and most of my assets. She tried to spin it like I was the bad guy. But honestly, I stopped caring. She wanted control, but she lost, and now she's the one struggling to keep up. I'll tell you one thing, it's a hell of a lesson. People will show you who they really are when they don't get what they want. And once you see that side of someone, you can't unsee it. If you made it through this mess of a story, thanks for sticking around. Now go ahead and hit that subscribe button.